Jeez. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Thanks, Kyle. Did anyone tell you, Kate, this is your camera? And also the speakers and microphone are built into
Oh,
this.
no. So,
But don't worry about it.
okay.
Like you're gonna be wanting to face the audience, right? You're a live
Right.
audience. So don't worry that
Okay.
the camera's gonna be recording your
Okay.
side for the most part. Okay, email. Kyle responded in the chat. Well done. All right, so email. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. There we go.
All right.
Okay, so we just want to open that up here.
Yes. And then I can drop it. Is there?
Still make you sign in though.
Okay.
Do you have anything to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Should I say it now? Get it out of the way?
Sure.
Okay. Why aren't you doing what I
If
want?
you're ready. Just a second, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know why that isn't taped.
You want to just try to plug the projector into your computer?
We can do that if that's.
Well,
if that is-
well,
Yeah, because I don't want
we're
you to
running
have to-
Zoom here too, so we
That's,
don't want to.
yeah, that's why I thought that. Let's just
Okay.
continue with Microsoft. And this is a lot nicer than my computer. I just want to go on record.
And it just lives here in the UC.
Oh, does it?
For them, I think so, yeah. It gets to do nothing for most of its life.
I could love it and, you know. All righty,
Oh, okay,
look at us. This is
Operating.
coming right up. Okay.
all right. So we just want to share the screen on Zoom, but then we'd be good to go.
Zoomers. Okay, so.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some people here. Hi, everybody.
All
Okay.
right.
So, as I said, I've got some stuff for over there, but you don't have to do it.
There we go.
Somebody's not muted.
I'm going to also, oh, you know what? Before I do that, I have to drop something in the chat. Because then everybody can. Sorry,
No worries.
I just need to know where that screen
I'm
was.
trying to, yeah, this is really great. I'm finishing my presentation now. I already went through it twice, so you don't have to listen to that, but I'm watching another one.
Okay, I'm going to copy the link. So I'm going to copy the link right now, everybody, and drop it in the chatters of the Zoomers. And then so everybody can play along. Okay. And now I'm going to screen share so that everybody can see what I'm working on. Okay.
I think,
How's that?
Yeah, and Gary's gonna introduce you.
Okay, Gary.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gary Lemowski. I'm a member of the Hatched Planning Team. And this session will be recorded for future use. The name of this session is Using Architectural Design Process to Explore Values Thinking Through Social Justice, Equity, and Ethics. And the presenter is Kate O'Connor.
Thank you. And just like I was talking to Gary before, I think I used every catchword possible to attract people to come to this today. So thank you, Gary. My name is Kate O'Connor. I'm a brand new faculty in architecture and facility management here at Ferris. I started in August, and a lot of my research has to do with community engagement, socially responsible architecture. And I'm always looking for innovative ways to teach my students. One of the things that I have done is I've actually started looking at how to create relationships with communities through values thinking, through equity, honoring existing systems and teaching my students those values as well. And this is a platform called Mural that I stumbled upon. It's one of those kind of brilliant finds that came out of COVID. So it's a digital whiteboard, a virtual whiteboard, and it was originally designed more for business, but came into kind of saved our lives when we were looking to present work and comment on work when everybody was in captivity or when everybody was kind of on their own. And so what I did here was I just set up this mural board, and you can see here that we have our hatch ed, and then I can actually zoom into certain areas and navigate the page over here. There are little blocks, and I'll get to those in a moment because we're going to do an exercise together. Hopefully everybody will play along. And through this exercise, you can start to see what we're doing. So again, all the words in the world for my title. And what I want to focus on is looking at designing an equitable city. And I'm going to be doing that through the lens of addressing environmental racism, okay? These are things that aren't always talked about, but they're a product of our environment that sometimes we don't even address or know that are there. So first things first, what I just wanted to do is I wanted to do a brief tutorial of what Mural is. And you can use either your mouse to zoom in and out, or you can use your touchpad to zoom in and out, as I'm doing here. There's also this area over here that will zoom you in and out over there. And you can see through that little red area, what I'm zoomed in on is showing up on the screen right now. Over here, this bar is what I have emulated on the screen. And when you select the icon, the menu comes out and you can actually start to engage on the whiteboard. So you can write text. If you click on it, the text comes up here. And then there's also this title, this little board. So you can move your text around if you want. You can make it larger. And then if you wanted to fill in, just double click on it. And when it becomes blue, you can edit it, blah, blah, blah. You can also delete it. So if you highlight it and just hit delete, it goes away. There's these wonderful sticky notes here. If you double click on a sticky note or single click on a sticky note, any color, anything, and that'll go right on your board. And again, you can also write on the sticky note if you want to. Make it larger, you can see here. You can also change the color of the sticky note and the texts. So hold on, I'm going to get out of that. And I think we have a couple of people on the Zoom. If you are having trouble following along, is that here? Just let me know, okay? But I think what I'm going to do is right now, I'm going to zoom out, and to do this together, there are these squares over here, and I want everybody who's participating to claim a square. All right, so up above, I have this, it says this is a title. So go ahead, double click on that and put your name. You can put your initials, you can do whatever you want. Nick, do you want to participate?
I mean, if I can try.
Can you get on Zoom and do it? Hold on, I'm gonna email you the link to it. Hold on, everybody. And I can do that for participants here real fast.
Ooh, can I get one?
Yes. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. Rita, did you want to play along?
My laptop is dying.
It's dying. Okay, no problem.
Thank you. I just pressed
Okay, so it's coming your way right now, so both of you can access that. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, if everybody could grab a square, and what we're going to do is just practice. We're just going to practice with this. So zoom into your square, like I'm zoomed into this one here, okay? And we're going to pull out that little area, and you can see that when you're zoomed into the square, even if you double click on the screen, you can get some sort of what we call a sticky note. You can write something, blah, 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 and then deselect it, select it again and delete it. I'm going to go down to the next one. And this is where we can actually draw some things. So you can actually, if you click on, double click on this, you can get a line, right? The line should be here somewhere. Sorry, there it is. So I click on the screen, and then I can increase and decrease and create a different angle. And then up here, when you select on the line, there it changes the properties of the line. So you can see that there's a different width. If I wanted to make it thicker, if I wanted to change the color, I could certainly do that. And this is all going to make sense in a moment. And then shapes as well. So we can have all these different lovely shapes. And in the same respect, we can even change the colors on the inside as well as the outside. So we can make very pretty things, which is very important right now. Down below that, if we select on that star, we hover over the star icon, that brings up other icons that you can put in here. I think this is great. And I'm going to make that bigger. So just by clicking on that corner, I can just bring an icon in. We're not going to use the frameworks, but if we did want to bring in an image, if you type in what you had for dinner last night, this is what I had. That actually looks better than the burrito I had last night.
Taco Bell burrito?
I did not have a Taco Bell burrito. I was Qdoba yesterday. And then I can move it around, just select it and organize my little space as I want. Yay, burritos. I'm going to hover over there. And I'm going to close that, you just, again, click on that icon and that will close. The last tool that we're going to use is down here at the bottom, and that's the draw tool. You can see when I click on the draw tool, it brings up this little pencil, and at the top, this menu, gray menu pops up. I can select the color that I would like. So say I would like this kind of dark pink color, and like a thicker highlighter, I can start to draw. I can even, write my name, Kate. It's lovely. And I can also erase if I don't want to do Kate, so you can actually take a step back. So it's a very easy program to use. And there's actually a method to the madness, which is sometimes hard for my students to understand. But what I would like to do right now is actually start the exercise. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a city, and we're going to build the city. And so what you have is you're going to have your plot of land. All right, so this is a plot of land. It's indeterminate in size, so you get to set the scale. And I'm going to go through fairly at a good pace items that have to be developed as our little farm turns into a town, ultimately turns into a city through the addition and subtraction of certain items. So first thing is first, what I would like everybody to do on their selected piece of land here.
I can't do only on mobile. Mural is only on mobile.
the worst. Here, do you want to use my computer, Nick, right here?
I guess that's good, yeah.
It's fun. It's up. It's plugged in. Come sit here. So, so the first thing I would like everybody to do is to create a road that connects one side of your piece of land to the other. That's the first thing I would like everybody to do. Okay? So however you want to do it, you can do it through the lines, through images, text, you could write it, you could draw it. And again, that's going to bisect. I'm going to do this. So I'm going to move this over here. So take your time, draw your road. And up here, I'm just going to write road. Okay. So what I'm doing is, if you do indeed forget what we have talked about, on the right, I'm going to write what I have just asked you to do. All right, so right now we have a road. And the next thing I would like to do is, we've actually started off our little community with a farm. So we're going to have a farm. So what I would like you to do is identify the farm through a farmhouse, through a field. You can decide what kind of agriculture it's going to be. It could be, let's see, corn. It could be wheat. It could be hemp. I guess it could be marijuana. There could be a lot of options for what the farm could grow. So take a portion of your land and create a farm. Okay. It is, oh, you know what? It's this one right here. Sorry, I had that open. It's right here.
Oh, okay.
Right, so I could write like potato farm. Let's see what comes up for that.
Okay.
There we go, right? So if I wanted that, I could just move that, oops, there we are. Move that right over to my, and being Irish, that is the fruit of my people. All right, so we have a road. Let me write down a farm. See if I'm getting this right. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is, well, one farm was great. Let's put another farm in. What kind of farm is that going to be? This time it has to be a different commodity. And where would you put that? So a couple of things while we're doing this exercise. One of these is, one of the whole ideas is to get students to think about something they might not be familiar with. The other thing is to graphically understand how they can identify with things as well. So when we come in anonymously, you don't necessarily have to put your name. Sometimes I don't ask the students to put their names, so that they can work and not be judged on the work that they're doing. So that's a trick that I've learned, especially from going online. So again, we have two farms right now. And because this is getting a little busy, it's getting a little bit more traffic, what I would like to do is just put in a small store. Where would you put a small store? Okay, so we have a small store. Now, the farms are actually very lucrative, and there are, we need to have a little bit of additional housing to help house some people who have come to work on the farm. So where would you put the housing for the individuals who are working on the farm? Just a couple houses, not too much. Maybe one per farm, two per farm. And where would they go? I don't know if that's the right way to write it. Farm housing assistance. And because we now have the houses, because families have moved there to help, there's families in the farm. Somebody came to open the general store there, so we're starting to have kids in the area. So now we need a school. So why don't we put a school in? Where would the school go? It's funny, I had done this exercise with students in Pennsylvania, and they said to me, Kate, there is no such thing as a square town or a square city. And I said, have you been to Michigan? Have you looked at how they lay everything out? Like, go west, young man.
1787 Oregon.
There you go, right? So it's interesting dealing with students from the
I
East
hear that.
Coast, and right, Nick is like, yeah, hey, I live this. Nick is one of the second year students in architecture. All right, so we have a house, we've got some farms. Oops, I have to put a school. We did a school there. All right. Now we need a post office. All right, we're really establishing a sense of place. So we're going to ask for a post office. Where would you put the post office?
When you look at post office, it's almost exclusively English ones.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
we put in like USPS and it's still mostly that.
The other thing is that when I'm teaching, the visual identity, the graphic identity of each of these things is inclusive to how the students think about this. It doesn't mean that when I look at it, I have to understand it, right? It's their own graphic identity, okay? So we have a post office, a school, a store, a couple of farms. Well, now we actually are going to start building some houses. Our first community is coming about because we need people to work at the post office. We need people to work at the school. We need people to work on the farm. So we're actually going to start a community. So if you could add a small housing community somewhere, that would be phenomenal. Where would you place that in your ville, whatever your town, ville, city might be? I keep forgetting to do my own chore over here. Okay, so we have a small housing development. So now that we found out the land is fertile, people are coming here, we're actually going to add 2 more farms. Where are those going to go? The farms are actually going to be replicas of the type of farms that you already have, because that product is booming in this area. So 2 additional farms. Two additional farms. All right. Because those farms are so successful and they're creating an industry, we're now going to put a factory in. We're going to process the items from those farms. So I'm going to ask you to place a factory. Where is that going to be? We have a factory. Things are getting pretty good here, right? Well, we actually have decided, little town meeting, we need some water. So we need to put in a reservoir. Where's the reservoir going to go? Reserve, oh gosh, now I have to spell it. How did I do? Good. The growth of the town, we have more potable water, but with that also comes waste. Where would the dump be? Where are you going to put the dump? So I'm going to ask you to locate the garbage dump.
Maybe you might need to get space for the town next door.
I know, right?
Oh, whoops.
You can control these, go backwards, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's not the most reliable with that though. I've noticed.
All right, so there's been a lot of need for jobs. And because of the drive for jobs, we now need more housing units. So we're going to put up an apartment building. Where would the apartment building go? Let me get that out of the way so we can see what we have. It's funny to see my name up there. Okay, we're late to the game, but I would like you to add a town hall / park, an open area. Where would that go? Because now we need a little bit of self-governance here. Is anybody finding any problems so far? Any potential issues? What could those issues be? All right. So now we need a sewage plant. All right. Ew. What do you mean, ew? This is part of life.
Doesn't make it not gross.
It doesn't make it not gross. So we need a sewage plant. As designers, we have to think of these things, Nick.
I know.
So we're having, again, we're outgrowing our city, right? Our town here. So we need another housing development. And we're also going to offer another apartment complex. Where did those two individual pieces go? Okay. So we have a housing development and an apartment complex. So where would you place these in your city? While you're thinking about and placing these things, when we talk about values thinking, we start talking about how decisions can be made based on how people think, how they react, what their desires are. You can start thinking also in that same vein about designing with empathy. Who are your clients? What are their needs? And how do you achieve those needs? And this all relates back to the overall umbrella of what this exercise is addressing. We're going to add a couple more things here as we move forward, because now we need a high school. We've got a lot of kids. We started with a school. We're going to create a large junior, senior high school, let's call that a junior, senior high school. I don't know if that's the right term, junior, senior, oops, 2 words. Junior, senior school, junior, senior high school, so. Because we have to educate the population there, okay? And for the time being, people were traveling to get their groceries, to get their clothing. So we're actually going to create a small mall where there are products, commerce. All right, so a small mall. Oops, sorry. Let me do that so you can read it correctly. A small mall. Where does that go? Okay. So do me a favor and connect where the town center is to your main road, where the schools are to the main road, where the factory is to the main road, and where your housing units, all of where everybody's living, whether they're houses or apartments are. Connect those to the main road. Okay? Now, we have the infrastructure for the roads there. We're also going to be bringing in buses and a train to the city, to our new city, right? From the big city, where is your trains, your train station? Where is your bus station? And put the train tracks in there as well. So. I know there's a lot going in here, isn't there? And because there's people coming in from the big city who might either be visiting or coming to stay, we need a hotel. Where's the hotel? Because in our little town, there's no Airbnbs. Okay, so we need a hotel. All right, so here's our city. And if you would like to, you can now, yeah.
No, I'll go. You.
Oh,
I'm
please.
thinking, where's the hospital, but.
Where's the what?
Hospital.
Thanks, Tom.
You're right. 20, okay, we've got 20 left. This, 10? Oh, I don't even have my glasses on. Okay, this is a great place to start, to stop and to start. So generally what I do now is I start talking about what equitable is. So equitable is, it's unbiased. It's beyond equal. And what I want you to do is when you're looking at your city, have you designed an equitable city? So we start to have a discussion of how things are developed, why they're developed, and what happens in places that we live, that are created, that are already existing, and why they may have happened, right? Why this might have happened. You know, equitable is fair and unbiased. Are there any examples that anybody wants to share of maybe something in their city that might not be equitable? How about the juxtaposition of housing units to the school? How about the juxtaposition of apartments to fresh water? Do we start to see trends forming based on what the needs are and immediate knee-jerk reactions to fulfilling those needs, and then who might ultimately reside in those areas? So these are discussions that I start to have with my students. The other thing that happens with mural, and as educators, I'm sure that you've noticed this beforehand, when you're on Zoom, a lot of times there's cameras off and people don't participate. So what I do is I ask for feedback through sticky notes. So if we're looking, for example, if I zoom into somebody's city here, right? I'm gonna zoom into this one. There's a poop on it. Okay, there we go. I betcha that might be the dump. But if we start looking around here, and we can ask for any sort of clarification now, and because we are anonymous, if I wanted somebody to say, well, what is this? That person can go in as the anonymous duck or the anonymous hippo or whatever they are and say, you know, this is a potato field or whatever. And then we can start, we don't necessarily comment on the graphics of what it looks like. We can start commenting on the content. And then if there are comments, and if people aren't comfortable with chatting, what they can then do is drop a note in to the side and say, funny icon, you know, I get it, well placed on the outskirts of town, right? Oops, fat fingers, sorry about that. Right, so you can start to, this platform and this exercise starts to generate multiple levels of communication as well as learning. And the next thing that I just wanted to talk about is what I brought up, and I have this here. I had it on my laptop, but it's on my phone. I don't ever usually use my phone to teach, and I can tell you. But it's environmental racism, and I have this definition. The placement of low-income or minority communities in the proximity of environmentally hazardous, degraded environments such as toxic waste, pollution, and urban decay, right? So can we start having a conversation about who might occupy these buildings? And is environmental racism happening in these areas? Because these are very relative conversations to have based on how cities are developed, right? And a lot of times, especially when I'm dealing with undergraduate students, they don't necessarily question the why, they just accept it. And so when we start to identify why this is happening, we can actually look for tangible solutions. So I then move into a think, pair, share, and I can break them into Zoom rooms, and they can chat in smaller groups. What I find is they're a lot more agreeable to do. Or they can sticky note if they would like, as long as there's some sort of open dialogue or discourse. The next thing that I do is actually, and if I close this out and I zoom out, each of these would be populated. So I think, pair, share with columns. So I break them into groups of 4 or 5, and then they compare and contrast, and they talk about these topics that we've been going over. And then we start talking about things such as adaptive reuse. We start talking about things about how different types of zoning laws can start to help different, different groups. How design thinking can work to help moving forward. What would the next thing the city needs, and what would you do? So it's working with existing infrastructure and anticipating what might happen in the future while addressing issues, current issues and issues of the past. And then when they come back and they chat with us, I then combine all of these properties into one county and ask them to start thinking about how these go together, how they can change. Are there areas that have more, are there areas that need to be maybe demolished and readdressed? Is that even an option? So then I usually give them case studies and then move forward looking at that. And they come up with their own type of what they call utopias, right? So this is my exercise. This is the technology I use. These are the things that I've come through. This has actually been the technology that I've used. Nick's used it. You could probably comment on it as well. But I think it's fairly easy to use, coming from somebody who might not be the most technologically savvy. But it also offers interaction at a time when people weren't necessarily interacting. And if we have a couple of minutes for discussion, I would love that.
You ever give the whole list first?
No. No, and as a matter of fact, one class, there's a lock option on this. So they would place their stuff, and then these guys, they were so slick, they were moving their stuff around. So I would have them place it, and then as the facilitator, I can go in and lock it, right? And they're like, what do you mean?
I want to see our 242 class do this.
You'll do it in small town studio.
I want to wait 2 years.
You don't want to wait?
Um,
Well, maybe we do it now, and
Yeah.
then we do it again in 2 years. So hopefully it was a little fun, right? Doing something like this. In the past, I've had markers and paper, and we've been pasting things and whatnot. So it's a little bit different, a different time, a different presentation. I know that I have people on the line who are participating as well, which I really appreciate. Thank you. And I welcome any comments or questions. And if not,
I have a comment, which is that, first of all, this is really fun to do, and I'm really glad I got to do it. And one of the things that I realized sort of going along is this gets at the heart of a really interesting sort of tension within architecture and planning, that is processes of step-by-step development versus processes with overarching planning that precedes step-by-step development. And so in some way, you're walking us through like a very American way of building a
Yeah.
city
Right.
and the problems that come with that.
Right.
Of, well, we'll just kind of make it up as we go along, step by step.
Right. Oh, well, quick, we need this. Put a Band-Aid on it. Oh my gosh, we need this. Here's another. This one has Snoopy on it, right? So it's also sometimes putting lipstick on a pig, which
Yeah.
can be even more evil
Mhm.
in the end. So yeah, this exercise, I've run it 3 times now. And I find, I used to run a summer program for high school students, and I find that the most creative solutions are with the younger students because they have no expectations, or rarely do they put any sort of, how do I say it? They're probably the most innovative, if I could use that word, because they don't have this expectation of, oh, I've seen this before, I must do it this way, right? So the younger they are, actually, the more success that I've had with this. So it's been interesting.
Now, I kind of, as you were walking through with each of the content things that you wanted in the town, it kind of gave it its identity right away, right? So starting with the farm, I thought about rural, country. I immediately went there. But then as you kept layering in, for example, the garbage dump. You can't go get the girl out. You see in the country when they just burn the trash. So then I started to see the identity shift a little. So I think this would be a great exercise to even hear those perspectives from students, like when did they start to see a shift and how they view that community or that town.
This is interesting too, because I did it when I was at Tulane as well, and things to stay away from that because you learn as you do, and you fail and you pick yourself up and you learn. And sometimes when I'm like, here's a church. Why do you need a church? So then it kind of derails the whole development of the town to the city, but it really sparked some great conversations as well. So I was like, all right, we're going to finish this next class. But then we started talking about religion and how that affects religious space and as a gathering space. And exactly. So in the past, I've started with different kind of design drivers, right? So this one was more rural, and others I've done, you just start with a factory, or you start with an apartment building, or, so it depends on, or instead of a road, I'll have a river. And what's the first thing that you just design with a river? Maybe a road with a bridge over it. And how do you now start talking about the two sides? Where do those things go on both sides? So you're absolutely right. Yeah, there is an identity based on that. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for spending your time with me this afternoon. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, saying thank you as well.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
It's a few left. 4 on Zoom plus 3 in the rest.
Thanks again, Kate.